Hi everyone, a very good evening. I welcome you all to the Dare Act Conversation series by The Grey Matter. Our guest for today is a pioneer and one of the most popular names in the YouTube community of India. She's a lawyer by qualification and a content creator by passion. She's also an aspiring figure for many young minds. So let's get Sherry Shroff on board with us.
Hi,
Hello! How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good too. I've been watching your videos back one after the other since the last 2 days. It just feels like I'm watching another YouTube video right now.
Should I say hi, guys?
Hi guys. Oh yeah, the line. Absolutely. So good to see you, Sherry.
So
Thank
good
you
to
for
see you as
being with
well.
us
Not
today.
at all. Happy to be here.
Likewise. Just 1 second. I'll increase the volume. Yes. Perfect. So how has lockdown been for you?
I mean, it's been hectic. I've pretty much been home since March. So yeah, it has been a lot slower than life usually. But I think just the chance to experience new things, do things we haven't done, slow down in life, which a lot of us don't do. Yeah, that's happened for sure.
Wonderful. And tell us, how is it, how does it feel like to be on the receiving end, considering you're the one who generally hosts a lot of interviews?
No, I do a lot of these as well. So I mean, it's always fun. I feel like to chat with people, especially from a different space, because I feel like it's always unique, to see the mix of creative and professional worlds, because most people don't kind of associate that at all, and they think we're very diverse. So I think it's interesting to always have conversations like this.
Amazing. Okay, so Sherry, your journey, your career trajectory has been quite a ride. And I'm sure a very interesting one for a lot of us, just, when we look at it from the objective point of view. But before we get into what you do now and, how life's been now, let's go back way in the past when you were a little kid
Okay.
who was a tomboy. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I was very sporty. I loved to play sports. My whole school life was just about, sports, living in jeans and t-shirts. And yeah, I mean, that was it pretty much until I was like in college. Yeah.
So from that to, picking up modeling as early as in your 60s, 16, the teenage age, how did that happen, that transition?
I always wanted to model. My sister used to model when I was younger, and she's much older than me. So I always saw her and said that that's something I want to do at some point. So I think growing up, I knew that that was something I always wanted to do. It's not like that it just happened, or I always knew I wanted to model. And until I was 16, I had braces. So the minute my braces got off, I was like, I need to shoot my portfolio and get on with it, because I already knew I wanted to do it. And my family has always been really supportive. So it's always been like easy. Like you can always be vocal about what you want to do and share things, and they've always supported us. So yeah, that's how I kind of started modeling at a young age, which at that time a lot of people weren't really doing at like 16. But yeah, it was a whole new world actually, which I wasn't really familiar with. And I kind of grew up doing that because I modeled for about 10 years, so it was fun.
And if I'm right, you also simultaneously your higher studies were also going on. So you did your majors in history and political science, which was
Yeah.
followed by 3 years of LLB. So why were those choices? Like, was there a reason for picking up law after doing your graduation?
Again, law for me was something I was always like interested in. My parents always said I argue a lot and I argue well, so I should be a lawyer. And I somehow that stuck in my head, and I thought, okay, I want to do law. And then also in the 90s, we all watched Ally McBeal and thought that is law, and thought, okay, I want to do this. But after I graduated, I modeled through my college, and then I always knew that like modeling was not going to be like a full-time career for life, and that it would end at some point. So I always had to have like a backup, and I didn't really feel like my arts degree had a definite like you can do this after this, because it was just very open ended. So I thought, why not study law since I'm modeling, and continue with like studying and modeling at the same time, like I did through like college, and get another degree just as my backup to like know that I have this as well.
So law was your choice.
Yeah, it
It
was my
was you
choice.
chose. Wonderful. And tell me how, because a lot of times, at least as kids, when you're trying to figure out what to do, a lot of times you
Right.
get influenced by what your parents say or what your friends say. So I just thought, let
No,
me
actually,
ask.
my
So tell
parents,
me
in
those.
fact, even told me don't do it. Like after the first year, I pretty much realized I was never going to practice. And I was like, after you've been in a creative field for so long, uh, and you see that whole world of like this, law, which is really professional. I saw all my friends interning and the kind of time they were giving to internships. I was just like, okay, I don't think this is for me. Like, I'm not sure if I will do this in life. And my parents were like, oh, why don't you do the 2 year degree and just, get the degree and leave it if you're not going to practice? And I was like, no, no, if I've started it, I'm going to finish it. I'm going to go the whole hog. I'm going to like finish it, get my whole degree, and have it as my backup plan B if like for whenever if things don't work out in life.
Which is never. Which is never.
Hope for that.
Wonderful. And so while you were doing your law, you still continued to model, and that's when
Yeah.
you started your blog itself, right?
Much later. I mean, I think I started video blogging around, I'd say about 8, 9 years ago, 7, 8 years ago. And before that, I had a text blog, which I also used to write while I was
Yeah.
modeling. But yeah, I mean, it didn't start like blogging was never supposed to be a career for me. It was never something, it was just something like a creative release along with modeling, because I had all this information on beauty and fashion, and I had all like my friends used to keep saying, why don't you have a blog? You should start a blog, because that time blogging was like the it thing, and everybody was blogging. But as I did it, I realized that I hated writing, so I didn't think that it would ever be like my thing. And then video blogging happened, and I was like, okay, I found my calling, and I don't need to look for anything else to do.
You've often said that it was pure accident, and it's not like you decided, oh, you know what, YouTube, okay, so this is going to be my career, and YouTube found you. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
So it wasn't really YouTube, it was actually a network. So when I started out, YouTube in India was very like new and nascent, and we didn't really have like YouTubers like we do today, or this whole blogging industry and boom happened much later. And at that point, I didn't even know about YouTube videos, bloggers. I never really watched any YouTube videos. While my blog and modeling was on, I had a network approach me that created content mainly for America, because we didn't really have an Indian audience at that point. And they said, why don't you try video blogging, since you're a model, so you're presentable, you also have a text blog, so you obviously have knowledge of like beauty and fashion. And at that point, I thought of it like a modeling gig where, like just like shooting an ad, you go there, you shoot, you're done. So I was like, okay, why not try it and, see how it goes. And as I like worked with them for a couple of months, I realized that this is like, I have found my calling. And in about, I think, 7, 8 months, I stopped working on that channel and then started my own, because I knew that this is something I wanted to do for life, irrespective of whether it made money or not. I just really enjoyed the whole process of like content creation and, making your own videos, which is why I felt like this was something I was meant to do.
Wow, that's amazing. And tell me, when we talk about video blogging, because now it's become a very, very common word that's often used. I was thinking about video blogging the other day, and I said, oh man, it takes, so it looks all fancy in those 9 minutes of video that you see on the YouTube, but there's a lot of work that goes behind capturing the right moments, trimming down the time period, and ensuring that your audience stays engaged with whatever you've put forward on the video. And
Right.
you don't have one channel, you have three channels on
Yeah.
YouTube. And that just blew my mind, that how does this girl do this? So, does it ever happen with you that you're on a trip, or you're traveling somewhere, or perhaps you've gone to eat out somewhere, that vlogging takes a lot of your time, and then it often may or may not lead to a burnout as well, where you feel like, okay, this is it. Now I just need
So
to
it
keep
used to
vlogging.
be like that, honestly. If you go back maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I was all over the place, always working, always either shooting or editing. And also, I think we did a lot because, like, got into it. Like right now, the other two channels are not really active, so it's still been easier for me. But when we were active on all three, it was like every day there was some content being churned out or edited, and I was constantly editing. Whenever we were traveling on a flight or in a hotel room, there was never a break. Like it was like either you're working, you're shooting, or editing. But then I think about a year and a half ago, I was diagnosed with TB, which is when I obviously had to slow down because I didn't have the kind of energy that I normally did to do things myself and shoot, edit, upload, all of that. And then I kind of got someone to help me with, some of the editing. And like we slowed down with the other channels to kind of take a bit of a breather and like face myself when I got back to work after 6 months. And that actually taught me that that you can't possibly do everything all the time, and you have to kind of slow down and take it easy, because otherwise you're going to completely burn out, as you said. So yeah, that was actually the point when I realized that it's okay to take breaks. It's okay to not upload content sometimes, because when I was sick I didn't really upload anything, I think, for a good 3 or 4 months, which for me was like never, like in all the years that I'd done this, the maximum break I think I had taken was 10 days, which was during my wedding. And there was nothing else, no other point in
That
my life
you
where I had,
captured.
yeah, yeah. But there was nothing else that we had really taken like a solid break for. So I felt like life goes on, people have other things going on, and if you make good content, people will always come back to your content irrespective of whether you take a break or not, and things like that. So yeah, that kind of taught me to slow down and kind of pace myself, which is what I do now. So it's not that hectic as and that crazy as it used to be. But yeah, it can get overwhelming when you do everything yourself, because people don't realize it's not just making a video. It's like shooting, it's editing, it's also managing your emails. So you become like a manager, a spot boy, a director, a videographer, an editor, all of those things combined, and that is constant. So you have to keep like all those roles going.
Yeah. I also remember when you were diagnosed with TB, I think you were one of the very, very few YouTubers who came forward and spoke about taking a break, which of course received support, but also received a lot of criticism, and just unnecessary criticism about, being lazy or procrastinating. So we all know that the internet can be your best friend and your worst enemy. How do you handle with the later part of
So I don't think, honestly, I haven't really been subjected to a lot of hate. And I mean, I think when you talk of the hate I got, it was two separate episodes. So with my TV, honestly, everybody was really supportive, and they all got, obviously, that I'm physically incapacitated and I can't churn out content like I would. But I think much later after that, as I said, when I did change my outlook to say that if I don't feel up to something, I won't post, or I will take a break. Like right now in the lockdown, I took like maybe a week's break at some point when I just felt really, like uninspired to create content. And I was like, sorry, but I'm just not feeling it, and I'm not going to do it. So like
yeah.
those kind of breaks is where people did comment earlier saying, oh, you're just lazy, or why can't you pre-shoot? Because when you're traveling, it gets hectic sometimes. But I think there's always two sides to it. Like if you're going to be loved, you're also going to have that angle of people not liking you. Everybody is not like gonna always love you online, especially. So you have to have a bit of a thick skin. And I think that's with hate, the biggest thing is I think you have to address it. You have to speak out if people are being rude to you, which is what I've constantly done. So if anyone comments something rude, I respond to them, telling them that that's not cool and that you shouldn't be doing that. And most cases, people either apologize or they change their mind and say, that's not what I meant. I actually meant this, but I'm sorry if it came across that way. So yeah, I mean, I feel like it's important to do that, to kind of change that as much as you can. And yeah, otherwise, I mean, you also like the mindless like hate that people send you. You just have to like not bother about it, because it's obviously not something that you can change.
That's true. That's true. And you know what's interesting is, Sherry, that you may have started with beauty, fashion, and lifestyle, so to say, but in the last couple of years, your scope is just kind of expanded so much that Sherry can make a video on anything and everything, and it is so
Or
relatable.
nothing.
No, I'm definitely not that. But tell me, what inspires you? Like, is there an inspiration? Do you get inspiration from somewhere? How does creativity work for you?
I mean, for me, it's always about sharing what I feel and what's happening in my life, which is why with my audience also, they know that what's happening in my life is what they will see. It's not going to be like, for example, now with the lockdown, I was just like, it doesn't make sense to me to post a lot of fashion content when we're wearing the same outfits every day. We're not really leaving our houses. Uh, it doesn't make sense to me to do like 10 fashion videos. But I'd rather do like, more real content, more vlogs about things that I'm learning or things that I'm doing. Or, for example, there've been cooking videos, which I was like, I would never cook. I hate cooking, blah, blah, blah. And now I've been forced to do it. So I'm just like, yeah, this is what it is. So I think that is kind of my content. I always say my content is an extension of who I am and what's going on in my life, and that's how it kind of moves forward. It's always like based on whatever's happening.
Yeah. And tell me something, you've been in you're a pioneer in this industry. It's the easiest way to kind of introduce you. So you've been there, done that, seen all, and you are where you are. As a public figure, do you feel that with the profession that you're in, there is a certain kind of accountability and responsibility that also comes with being a content creator, having so many followers, people loving you, so much. How do you handle that?
So of course, I feel like I mean everyone has to kind of have their own balance of what's okay and not okay on their platforms for them. But I think if you have a voice and an audience, you definitely have to be responsible to a certain degree, because there are a lot of young people watching you, a lot of impressionable people watching you, and I mean it as much as you say you don't really want to tell people how to live their lives or instruct people on what to do or what's right or wrong, somewhere subconsciously you are obviously doing that, which is why I feel like for me, I always try to reiterate that what you see online is not often what life is for everybody, and that's just a very small part of everybody's life. And that there are many things or filters for me when it comes to the collaborations I do or things like that, where which people may never see that side or never know that side. But for me, that ethical angle is very important as a creator, where I'm like, I have to be honest with my audience. I have to know that, like, my audience needs to know that this is authentic and genuine, and it's not just for money or things like that, because that's not why I started this.
So has it always been like this, or with time and experience you figured out that you have to
I
put
mean,
some ground rules for yourself?
honestly, when I started, nobody ever made money from YouTube. So it wasn't really something we had to think about, because it was more like a passion project. And I think way into like maybe, I think 2, 3 years into content creation is when I probably got my first brand deal. So it was much later that this happened. But yeah, obviously it's a learning, experience through years and years of dealing with different people, dealing with brands, doing collaborations. Also, the law changes about this all the time. Like abroad, like in America, it's really important for creators to disclose their paid partnerships and collaborations. You cannot just promote something without having that paid partnership tag or hashtag ad. Whereas we don't really have that in India. So a lot of people still do it without sharing that they are getting paid for something, which in my opinion is unethical at this point. I mean, earlier, yes, in the beginning of the industry, nobody really disclosed their paid partnerships or whatever, because that was how things work. But the
Yeah.
reason law was created and there was more and more awareness about this was because the industry grew. It became a bigger space, and there was a lot more money to be made in content creation, which is why I think there were some kind of parameters, some kind of barriers, and also
Yeah.
like a legal angle to it, which I think a lot of us are being vocal about. That hopefully India will also incorporate the same, because then it becomes an industry norm and it's not really just personal ethics and morals anymore. But yeah, like there are a lot of those factors which I feel like have kind of developed and grown with the industry, which will continue to do, as I think it grows more and more.
Time grows. And tell me, from 8 years back, uh, when you were using YouTube. I think YouTube was the main platform back then for you, and Instagram and the other platforms came much, much later. What is that one thing you miss about those times when you were a content creator?
I think it was just a simpler form of content creation, like we didn't, the focus was not really on how fancy can your edit be, how amazing is the font, or how great is your equipment. It was just a very simple, like I actually filmed my first few videos with my webcam on my laptop, which today, I mean, would be unacceptable. Like, nobody would watch that because the quality would be so terrible and people would be like, oh God, why am I watching this? So I think it was like the whole industry was just much simpler, and also it wasn't really just about creating content for money or brand deals, because that didn't really exist.
Yeah. So is YouTube still the more regular platform that you prefer, or would that be has that
I
shifted
mean,
to
it
Instagram?
depends on the kind of content. So my YouTube videos go up twice a week, irrespective anyways. And then there's additional stuff on Instagram. But Instagram is more fun for me than business. Like it's more of me sharing my life as is. And yes, Shobna commented saying Mars. Yes, that is my dog who has just suddenly woken up from his sleep and gone nuts barking. But yeah, so I mean, I would say YouTube is definitely still my primary platform, but also Instagram and other stuff.
Beautiful. And you did mention about paid partnerships, and you've been fairly vocal about organic growing of your followers
Right.
versus buying followers. So one is of course the paid partnership that you mentioned. If I had to ask you two things that are going very, very wrong in the industry and which need to stop, according to you, what would be those two things?
I would say these two things, that there's no regulation when it comes to content creators in terms of how we promote things, or the law that speaks
Yeah.
about it in terms of, whether this is right or wrong. So there's a big gray area there which can be exploited, obviously. And the other thing, as you mentioned, buying of followers, manipulating numbers, algorithms. So it's across the board, whether it's the platforms, whether it's people doing it. Again, we don't really have laws to kind of stop that, or kind of say, like this is not acceptable or this should be disclosed. There's no real way to find out. Like today, if I were to suspect someone has fake followers on Instagram, it's pretty much my word against theirs, because there's no concrete way as a viewer that you can discover that someone has got followers. And yeah, now we do have like people, like I mean, recently there was this whole police crackdown on fake followers and trying to get uh, figure out who has them and things like that. But I just feel like it's not at the level where it should be. Like, unfortunately, that is something like number manipulation is still something that happens a lot in the industry, and so does this, where like I think people disclose things without saying that they are actually being paid for it, which is unethical.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that's very, very important to be, it's important to also kind of educate the audience at some level, because nobody really, who's going to tell them, right? If not the content creators they're following. So that's amazing. Now tell us, in this one decade, share with us one hardship or of experience which really taught you a lot. It could be in terms of work, it could be something personally, but something which really shook you, and there were a lot of learnings that came out of it.
I think getting TB would be it, because it's something I would have never ever thought in my life that I would get, or I didn't even know about TB. I didn't even know anything about the disease, or what to expect and how long. And the fact that I was a young, healthy person who's fit, and I still faced it. And after that, dealing with that, getting back to being where you were before that, I think it just gives you that time, as I said, to take a step back and kind of realize where your life is, or what's been happening, in terms of your life, and also that it passes, right? Like nothing is that big where like once it's done, like now today, it's like, okay, yeah, it's done. I had it. It's over. It's gone. But if someone asked me like a week after being diagnosed how I felt, it was like this huge weight on my shoulders, where I was like, oh my God, like why did this happen to me? How am I going to function? When do I get back to work? What, like, I hope I don't give it to somebody else. Um, all of that. So I think there's always episodes that we learn from, small or big. Of course, I've learned from a zillion small things career wise over the last few years, whether it's not having money or losing money and then realizing the importance of saving, or the ethics in the industry that you work in, all of those things. But I feel like for me this was definitely the biggest personal learning as an individual, where I felt many things that I had never thought of in my life, and I was forced to think them.
Wonderful. That's beautiful. And okay, so tell us. We'll ask you to give a word of wisdom for two
Okay.
category of people. One is a bunch of young kids extremely confused, not knowing what to do, what they want to do with their lives. What would be your advice to them? And the second would be a category who are considering, working as a content creator and who've not yet started but are wanting to start and are hesitant. So what would you say to both the categories?
I mean, with kids who don't know, none of us ever really knew. Even if we said we wanted to do one thing, we end up doing another, and I'm a prime example of that. So I think just follow your heart and try different things when you're young. Keep experimenting with different options or jobs if you're unsure of what you really want to do, and somewhere you'll find that calling, or you'll know that this is the right fit for me, which then will translate into your career somewhere, and you will realize that this is what I want to do. With people that want to do content creation, today it's a tough business to get into because there's thousands of people doing this every day. So obviously you don't really have a first mover's advantage like someone like me did. So yeah, your content definitely needs to be really good, really strong, from that angle to compete with everybody else. But again, I would say start when you're in college, start young, because you can experiment, have fun with it. If it doesn't work out, then you can always, think of other options, or get like another, area of or a career that is completely different, or which you might discover even through this process. So it's very difficult to say, because I feel with content creation there are a number of factors. There's hard work, there's luck, there's also people actually having to like your content. Sometimes we create the most amazing content that we think is amazing, but people don't think it's amazing, and then that doesn't work. So you have to think like that, in terms of, it could work, it couldn't work. Get into it with an open mind so you're not disappointed.
Yeah, and tell me something. The ones who specially deal with fear, or judgment for that matter. How do you cope? You seem to be a very optimistic person. It's like it's in your aura for some reason, and that's brilliant. But how do you manage to stay so optimistic?
I mean, I think it's just something you have to deal with, right? Like, I feel like, I mean, I'm not, like, generally someone who always believes everything happens for a reason. And I always try to find that reason in my head when something goes wrong, as to why is this happening, or what is the reason for this, and what is the learning from this situation. But no, I'm not always optimistic. I can also be really, really negative and, and not, and nervous at times. So people just don't see that because they're so used to seeing this side of me more often. But I would say that I think after a point, it just, like, you have to realize, you have to trust your gut and go with what you feel right. For me, a lot of kids always come up to me, and as you said, they're nervous. They don't want to start a channel because of hate, or how to cope with that and all of that. And I'm like, if you start thinking about all of that, you'll never start, because like you can't already think of something that's not even happened yet. And you just have to go with it. If this is something you want to do, there's always going to be two sides in any space, right? Any career is going to have a tough side and an easy or fun side. So consider this the tough side of this job, and it's not something you can escape ever. So go with it. If you can't handle it, you can always just drop it and delete your channels or delete your platform. But I feel like trying it is the best way to tell if it's for you or not for you.
Or not? Yeah. So do not try. Like, at least give it a shot. Yeah, I think that's really true. That's really true for any profession, for that matter. And that's really great piece of advice. I think a few people want to ask you
Sure.
questions. I'm going to leave this place open, guys. Whatever you want to ask Sherry, just drop in your message.
You pick whichever ones you want to do.
Okay. Okay, Ravina is asking, what's your piece of okay, one second. What's your piece of advice for the ones who want to start a different career? As in
Means like
change of
leave,
profession.
like change of career. I think you don't need advice. You just have to do it. It's never going to be comfortable. It's never going to be easy. You just have to start. As I said, like there's never there's no opportune time for any of these things. Like you just have to start, because the longer you wait, the harder it gets. And it's never easy, or there's never going to be a sign, or no one's going to come with a tray and say, here's your new career, take it. You have to just get into it and go for it. There's no other option.
And tell me, do you have your share of favorite content creators?
To be honest, I don't really watch a lot of creators, because I just feel like over the years, I mean, I used to watch creators a lot earlier when I was like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, possibly. But then I kind of went off it, because I felt like when I watch a lot of creators, somewhere I get inspired by someone's content unintentionally, like not like trying to do something similar, but then it sticks in your head somewhere, and then you end up doing something similar. For that reason, I just feel like I don't watch a lot of content on YouTube, because I don't really want that, like someone else's content, to influence my content. And also now there's so many platforms like Netflix and Amazon and whatever, that I'm like, where's the time in the day to watch? Like, I mean, like you have so much to watch, that for me
Yeah.
also YouTube is work, right? Like this is my job. So it's like me saying, would you like to hang out in your law chamber after you finish working? Most people would be like, no, I want to go home, right? Or I want to go out. Um, yeah, I want to go to another platform and watch different types of content. So it's usually like shows and things like that. Currently obsessed with K-dramas, which is my newest obsession. But yeah.
Wonderful. That's nice. Okay, I'm going to ask you a wacky question. Have you
Okay.
ever been stalked? Like you were
Stop.
some, yeah.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I do get a lot of strange messages sometimes, but then I just block them or report the status. But I don't know if I don't think I've been stalked, thankfully.
No. Amazing. That's damn nice. Someone's asking, who's your current K-drama actor? Favorite K-drama actor?
It's tough. It's tough. I love a lot of oppas from the K dramas. I definitely, but my ultimate would be Hyun Bin. Like I love Hyun Bin. I mean, if I had to name one, but yeah, there are a lot.
Amazing. Damn nice. I just wanted to ask, do you have your dog around?
He's actually just run off. He's noticed something on the balcony, which is when he barked and ran.
I thought, let me just call him also. Okay, so there's a very good question here by Tanisha. She's saying, what do you feel about the industry in the next 10 years? Where do you think content creation field would be in the next 10 years?
I mean, I think it's only going to grow, because it's growing really rapidly. It's kind of hard to keep up with the pace that the industry is growing at now. But I do think we will have a lot of regulation. As I said, there will be, changes made in the industry to make more reform, because it's a very new industry. And I think now people have realized that things need to change. There needs to be a structure. There needs to be a body. So I think there we'll see a lot of those changes happening over the next few years, but it'll definitely be just bigger and brighter with a lot more creators.
And have you ever been affected by numbers? Numbers in terms of followers on, say, Instagram or YouTube for that matter, or that's something that's never bothered you?
I mean, of course, I would know what my numbers are on platforms, because it's part of my job to know who's watching my content. But does it bother me if someone has bigger numbers than me or things like that? Not at this point in my life. I mean, I think I'm way beyond that every day. Okay, how many people have followed today? How many people have unfollowed today? Because I feel like when you're in this for the long haul, you have to kind of focus more on the content creation and how you feel about content creation, as opposed to just numbers, numbers, numbers. Because it's not about how many people are watching, it's about who's watching and how engaged they are by your content. At least that's how I see it. So I don't really like necessarily give a lot of importance to numbers.
Yeah. And also, it just struck me that you've done a lot of collaboration with young content creators as well. I forgot the name of the channel. There's a series that you carry on where you're having lunch, where you're having a
Mukbang,
meal.
mukbang with Sherry. Yeah.
Mukbang. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and that has a lot of content creators, especially the younger crowd. If I was to ask you who has been the most interesting according to you, would you be able to name one?
Oh wow. I mean, I feel like each one has been really interesting because I feel the point of that series was to kind of get to know people deeper than just knowing them, like from what you see them in videos. But like knowing their backstory, their childhood, how they started creation, or just generally what they feel about random things in life. Could be their likes, dislikes, food, what shows they like to watch, things like that. And I felt like this was a great way to bond because I'm someone who loves food and I love to talk. So it was like, let's marry the two and let's do like a
Marry the
talk
two.
show, which is like just us eating and talking. And that's how it kind of started. And I would say, I mean, I've done so many, but I would say the last one I did with Shweta was really interesting because we'd never met. I didn't even have a number before we coordinated the shoot. Like it was literally like I had just seen some of her content online. She had seen my content, and I was like, I would love to have you on board to do this. And she was like, sure. And when we got onto a Zoom call, I felt like I had known her for years. Like it was bizarre. Like I didn't feel like I was talking to a stranger, like it was like, and she was like, I feel the same way. And I was like, it's really weird, but like I really feel like, and I've not even seen that much like in terms of her content to have known,
Content.
like been familiar, or neither she probably seen mine. So I was like, it's crazy, but like it was really seamless and really interesting. And I was like, it's bizarre how we meet in these circumstances on a Zoom call. But like, I know that I could really get along with this person. So I think that was a really interesting one for me because I felt like, um, as I said, not knowing someone and then like talking to them for like 1 hour, eating a meal with them over a Zoom call and just realizing, oh yeah, we are good.
I think I lost you for a second. Yeah,
Now better.
yeah. What did you say last, Cherry? The
I
last
said
sentence?
that's what I said, that it was just really interesting to be like talking to someone that I've never met. I didn't know a lot about, but I felt like I've known her for years.
Wonderful. That's beautiful. Tell us, is your husband back now? Is he back with you? I understand during the
No,
lockdown he
I'm
was in another.
actually still in my no, he's in the same city, but I'm actually at my parents' house because I was watching my parents and my dog here, and he's at our house. Unfortunately, we've had to do a bit of babysitting in the lockdown, and we've been separated because of that.
No, that's amazing though. I mean, I think you know how time changes. Your parents take care of you as a kid, and as you grow older, it just kind of becomes the other way around.
Flips,
But the funny thing is, you start enjoying it. I mean, that's what
yeah.
I have felt,
You
with
feel
my
like the
parents.
boss.
It's
Like I like it. I feel like I'm in charge.
yeah, it's kind of
And also
cute.
because my
Anyway,
dog is really young, like he's like a year and maybe 3 4 months, so he's like the toddler in the
oh,
house. So it's like a mix of like uh, like me being like a dog
the
mom to a
mother.
toddler, and then yeah, them who are like my parents are in their 70s, so it's like them. So it's like a nice mix of mothering around.
So lockdown has gone well for you, basically. It's
Yeah,
been
I mean,
fairly entertaining.
it's been hard, but it's been entertaining. Yeah, like I don't think without my dog I would have been really miserable, but I think having him has been like just so much fun, and he's been, like a fresher breath air because every day there's like something going on with him, or walking him or playing with him that keeps me active and keeps me positive.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you one last question, and that'll be, what is your one learning? I remember you recently did a video on my 10 learnings during the lockdown, 10 things I learned during the lockdown.
Right.
What would be the one learning which you would say is like hits the topmost priority in
That
terms
I
of
don't need so much stuff. I think being like a lifestyle and fashion content creator, obviously I have a lot of stuff in terms of like clothing or accessories or shoes. And I think over the last 8 months, I have barely used maybe one shelf of my closet here, and I've not even seen a lot of my clothes which are in my house, or felt the need to wear them, which is where I've realized that I'm like, oh my God, we have so much stuff, we buy so much stuff constantly, but we don't really need that much. So yeah, that has definitely made me a little less like in terms of more conscious of shopping or buying things or things like that. At least that's something I've definitely been like more vocal about, and it's something that I feel will go forward with me because it's become a part of who I am.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sherry. This has been amazing. It's so good to have a face-to-face chat and get
Thank
everybody
you.
to know you at a personal level. Thank you once again for being a part of the Grey Matter community. Thank you for daring to act differently, and I hope you never ever have to go to Plan B. Plan A
Thank
is
you.
going to go so up high that Plan B is never happening. So God bless you, and hope to have you start become more active with your other two channels super soon, especially coupling. I love that one. I think it's really amazing. So thank you,
Thank you
and
so much, and thank you to everyone who's watching and for all your questions. And yeah, this was fun. Thank you.
thank you so much, and to everybody else, everybody, thank you once again for being a part of this show live. I think that just means a lot, taking your time out on a Friday evening and joining us live. Also, the Grey Matter and IDEX Legal are coming out with season 2 of the Unsuited series, and this time we have not one guest, we have two guests coming with us on board, and the series starts this Sunday in the evening at 5. So please go register. The registration link is in the bio of the Grey Matter handle. And believe me, the format is so much more fun this time that you don't want to miss it. Thank you,
Looking
Sherry.
forward to
Thank
that.
you,
Thanks.
everyone.
Thanks. See you. Bye. Bye.
See you. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.